To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests today will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trae Wingo here with you. Boys, how we doing today?
We're doing well.
Yeah.
You know, keeping an eye on the World Cup. We have standing updates we'll get to with our snake draft. So that kind of keeps me going through the day. I kind of dig that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time because an interesting day today because we've got obviously things going on in the World Cup, a match coming up we'll talk to a little bit. We have apparently time travel.
Yeah, we do.
So we got to book Ronda Rousey again.
Yeah.
Make sure she joins us. Talk about that.
Break that down.
A little flux capacitor issue. And we apparently have someone who has decided after winning it all, I'm good. I'm going to move on.
It's a walk-off.
It's a walk-off in the best possible way.
Walk-off.
So we got a lot to get to. Also, we got the NBA draft coming up in a couple of days. And really now, a very interesting scenario taking place in Cleveland where the Cavaliers are going to have to make a decision very soon, not knowing what LeBron's decision is going to be.
Yeah, there's some interesting things, obviously, in basketball with the whole LeBron thing, with Kawhi thrown into it, the draft coming up, and an old shoe making a comeback to a new shoe, and some of the top draft picks jumping on it and getting paid for it, which is pretty cool. That shoe was popular at Puma when we were kids.
Dude, Puma's been around a while,
yeah,
right?
Definitely
They are back in the swing of things now.
Yeah, going to try and rebrand it a little bit because they recognize the one thing that all of these guys are fully aware of right now. Now more than ever, the modern athlete has treated himself more as a businessman than ever before. Businessman or businesswoman more than ever before. Yeah. And so these guys understand that, you can go all these other places, but they're not going to love up on you the same, and a lot of them aren't going to throw the same dollar amounts at you that Puma is clearly willing to do.
So how excited are you, Mr. Collector of every tennis shoe out there?
Oh, if they got something hot, listen, I'm going to be wearing it. There is no question about that, all right?
I was about to say, that was the surest bet on the board,
Holy
right?
smokes.
Just out of curiosity, how many pairs of sneakers do you have?
Right now,
Yeah.
I just got rid of some, but I'd probably say I'm just north of 30 right now.
It's unbelievable.
Chappie's the same way.
I
man.
mean,
I got a real beauty the other day. You guys are going to see in a couple of days, man. Boy, oh boy.
Unbelievable. It's now. Do you keep the boxes for them and everything?
Yeah, I got a stack of boxes about the size of about the height of my actual wall right now. We're working on some. We got some plans for this, but again, this is it right now.
Yeah.
This is a generation that prioritizes that. There's a lot of clout around this, and so putting your name and your brand on something like this that's also now associated with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Did I get that? Did I get the old focus?
Yeah, that was kind of played out.
No, that's for Golic saying tennis shoe.
Oh, tennis shoe.
A little late.
Yes,
okay, way to have nobody have any idea why that was. I said tennis shoe a minute ago.
Yeah,
we knew you. We know you guys.
And you
we
play
knew
the
that you'd
old
ask
man
why we
sound,
played it.
and you play the old man sound when Mike is talking. The 28-year-old.
That's on you guys.
Strike
man.
one out there.
That's
that was
on you
awful.
guys. That's way too
Holy
late. No,
smokes.
that's a hard pass.
They just ruined that.
Is that
Now
a
we gotta
Carolina
move on.
They did. So
Wow.
Anyway, we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, we will.
Lon Kruger will join us, Oklahoma head coach, to talk about Trae Young and what he thinks he'll do in the NBA as the NBA draft is coming up on Thursday. Tom Penn, ESPN NBA front office insider, will join us in studio again. A lot of moving parts, especially somebody else. It looks like they're bailing out on San Antonio because they believe Kawhi is bailing on San
Tom
Antonio.
Penn is so good at putting the money in the players where
Yes.
everything will fit, and you can actually make a team and just saying, let's put a guy there.
Exactly. And
You mean instead of just firing up the NBA trade machine online?
Exactly. Colin Montgomery, World Golf Hall of Famer, will join us, talk about what he thought about the U.S. Open, what he thought about Phil Mickelson's stunt on 13, and Bruce Arena, former United States men's national coach of the soccer team, will join us, talking about what he thinks about the World Cup and how the U.S. can get back into this thing. Hopefully by the time, the next World Cup rolls around, but definitely by the time, we host this thing.
Yeah, it would be nice, yeah.
In 2026. A united hosting with Mexico and Canada. So we got a lot to get to, and let's start with what's trending, and what's trending is the Houston Astros continuing to be the best team in baseball right now. They extended their winning streak to 12 on Alex Bregman's walk-off double in the bottom of the ninth inning.
Yeah, the last team to overcome at least a 4-run deficit to extend a win streak to at least 12 games. You go back to September of 2002, the A's. Moneyball had that long win streak. They overcame a 5-run deficit against the Royals to extend their win streak to 19 games. So that was been a while since that happened. 12-game win streak, one shy of tying for the fourth longest win streak by defending World Series champ, that being held by the 53 Yankees after winning the World Series that next year won 18 in a row.
Yeah, Houston seems to be reminding us all of who they were. Now, it gets interesting going forward because you mentioned that win streak at 19 right now. When you look at the way that the schedule for the Astros...
No, it's a 12 for the Astros right now.
It's a 12 for the Astros, 12. But you're talking about for the Moneyball team, that
right.
Win streak at 19.
Right.
The way the Astros schedule lines up right now, you have Tampa Bay, who they just beat. You have Kansas City, who they just beat 3 times before that. Coming up, their schedule is Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and then the Blue Jays 3 times after that, followed by 3 more rounds of Tampa Bay.
You're already looking at the 19-gamer, huh?
I'm just saying, how high do we think this goes? Because
Yeah.
this isn't some team that's sort of surprising the way that team did. No. This is the defending World Series champions playing as good and damn well as we know they can.
By the way, yesterday was the 15-year anniversary of the book Moneyball.
Yeah?
That just came out.
There you go. Look at it all tying together.
All comes together like this, and the Astros maintain their lead atop the AL West. Protecting the lead is brought to you by ADT. Considering home security? ? Consider this statement. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. Staying in Major League Baseball,
oh boy,
where's Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
Because apparently Juan Soto does have the ability to travel back in time.
The 3-1, swinging a long drive right field. Forget about it. He's done it to the Yankees again. That one almost clears the upper deck, and one bounces onto the concourse. That's one of the longest home runs we've seen in that direction here at Nationals Park since 2008. Juan Soto homers in a game that started on May 15th. On June the 18th, is it his first home run or his 6th? He does it to the Yankees again, 3 homers in his last 2 games against the Bronx Bombers, and the Nationals lead 5-3 as Juan Soto put that one into orbit.
Okay, that's the call on the Nationals radio network. For those that are confused.
Read slowly.
Exactly. The Yankees and Nats played a doubleheader, and one of those games was a makeup game from May 15th. And in the makeup game from May 15th is where Juan Soto hit that home run. The only problem is Soto made his Major League debut on May 20th. So the home run actually counts, Mike, as a May 15th home run, but it's not his first Major League home run.
And for those who may think, wow, this has to be a first. Well, it's a first for a home run. It's not a first for a hit. It happened to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, he officially got his first Major League hit on May 31st, 1986. He later got a hit on August 11th, 1986, in a game that was suspended and first played April 20th, 1986. Hey. So same kind of scenario, but it was for a first hit. This is for a first home run. Wow, it's confusing.
You figure for the amount of makeup games we were going to have this year based on all the weather early on that we were going to be tripping over landmines left and right for something potentially like this. But for Juan Soto, who was already a story because of his great start to his Major League career, this is going to be a nice little footnote for him as we maybe look back on this. I
do like the fact 6 of his home runs, 3 have been against the Yankees.
Yes. Yeah. So again, to recap, it happened.
Yeah.
Before he got called up, so technically it can't be his first home run because this game was a May 15th makeup, but it does count as a home run.
Who says you can't go back in time?
I got to imagine Ronda Rousey is just punching clocks right now. Like she's so confused and personally offended by this idea. Say? Ronda Rousey.
It's Golic and Wingo.
So there is a possibility that you could go back in time?
There's a possibility that I could go back in time? That's your question to me?
Go back in time and fight. Go back in the octagon.
I do not have the ability to go back in time, no.
So apparently Juan Soto has more abilities than Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
That's what we're learning.
Just punching clocks right now. Literally punching the clock.
By the way, just so people, I called it a makeup game. It was a continuation of a suspended
game. Right.
So much in the way he suspends time by using his flux
There you
capacitor. This was the makeup of a suspended game, and Juan Soto.
And hey, if all of you out there understand all the stuff we just said, good on you.
Just know this much. Juan Soto can travel in time, and Ronda Rousey
There you go.
That's all you need to know. Yes, Harry Kane.
Man.
Harry Kane is my guy. England was staring at a draw in their opening match against Tunisia. By the way, as Max Bretos told us when he was on the show last week, the Tunisia mascot, the Eagles of Carthage. Doesn't get much better than that.
You're right.
But Harry Kane said, not today, Eagles of Carthage. A header in stoppage time as England gets the win.
By the way, their last two opening rounds for England, the last two World Cups, they have not won. The last win was 2006 against Paraguay. The game winner, unbelievable, is the latest regulation game winner for England at the World Cup. Tunisia, by the way, winless in 12 straight World Cup matches dating back to 1978. So you kind of thought this outcome was going to happen.
Yes.
But Kane certainly made it pretty dramatic for England in this one.
Yeah, as you mentioned, on this kind of stage, the national stage, the World Cup stage, a big departure for England in the beginning, and it can set a strong tone because the other ones, they've petered out very quickly and been embarrassed in some cases on these kind of stages. So for them, they're hoping this propels them to greater heights and not some sort of letdown. And for us here, we found the answer to the most pressing question. Who's got Tunisia? It's the show staff.
Yeah.
And they are not thrilled about it right now.
No, they are not.
It was a big win for me. That's all I'm taking. You know, it's funny. England is obviously very sensitive because they are a soccer crazed nation.
Yes.
And they've only won this thing once, the World Cup. And I remember we played them, I think, in the first match when the World Cup was in South Africa in 2010. And I put a joke out there on Twitter. I said, in 1776, we took your colonies. And now in 2010, we're taking your World Cup. And boy, were they upset with that one. I was just having a little fun. And they were like,
you can't have a little
you're
fun.
You're saying you're going to beat us? And it ended up a draw. I think it ended up a draw.
They're more mad about that than the fact that we actually took their colonies, man.
Yeah.
You figure the memory would be a little bit longer than that. By the way, yesterday's goal gives way to one of my favorite all-time movie headlines. And it can apply here because Kane goes with the game winner from the not the replacements, excuse me. From why am I forgetting this right now?
What's the name of the movie?
The program.
The program.
Yeah, the all-time greatest Heisman Trophy headline ever. Kane is able.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Nicely
okay,
done.
there you go. Well done.
I'm glad we got
Took
there.
a
It
bit.
took a long way to
man,
get there.
butchered that one. I'm
You did.
sorry for that great radio.
There you go. So, but today's matches could feature some of the top goal scorers in the tournament. Colombia's James Rodriguez won the Golden Boot of the 2014 FIFA World Cup. He's uncertain, though,
Right, he's got a
with that
calf
left
injury.
calf injury. And
Right.
then your guy looks like he's going to go.
Mo Salah's not my guy. That's actually a juniors team for
No,
Egypt.
I was looking at Poland.
Oh, Poland. Robert Lewandowski,
Yeah.
he scored 16 goals in the World Cup qualifying. Mo Salah scored 42 goals in the Premier League this season, so a lot of goal scoring. Now, Salah didn't play in the first game.
Right.
Supposed to play in this one against Russia. That would be the staff as Russia. My son has Egypt. Poland I have, Senegal, Mike you have, so C on that one. And Colombia, the staff has, and Japan, Trae, you have. So an update of the standings, and we're going to get us an update, sounder at some point here.
Yeah.
But it got close. Mike, you are now winning in our snake draft here for the World Cup. Mike has 11 points. Mike and Devin. The staff has 10. Trae, you and I have 9.
Let's go. Big
So,
day for us.
Yeah.
Big day. We're just setting the table. I've said it all
That's
along.
it.
My strategery was all about England taking down Tunisia. And thanks to Harry
It happened.
Kane.
Again, we're getting 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, obviously nothing for a loss. Of the 4 different teams have 8 teams each, so we're just keeping score like they do.
The Baloney Boys are out here today. Devin and I are just building the cohesion for our challenge later today that we've got to finally put out there before. Devin and I are going to be world record holders soon. We're going to take the world by storm and then take your paycheck.
Again, that's Tony Finau, the golfer, and his buddy. He hit a ball 110 yards, and his buddy caught 12 of them.
Who was a minor league baseball player.
And I got to get his name just because I feel bad. I'm shortchanging him on that.
You know, the
but
minor
they
league
caught
guy.
12 in a minute. 12 110-yard golf shots that were caught in 1 minute. You guys are going to try and replicate that. And if you do, I take one of my paychecks and split it and give you guys half each. If not, you do a month of washing my car in Speedos.
You know the other thing, if you do this, your other 2 kids are going to go, whoa, where's our half of one of your paychecks?
Listen.
Yeah, they can go out and earn it.
Do we really think
catching golf
do we really
balls.
think my daughter Sydney is hurting in that,
No.
yeah, in that
I don't think so.
right.
Like I said, by the way, stuff that replicate word. We're going to beat it.
Yeah,
beating
whatever.
Get out of
Replicate.
here. No chance. And then there's the curious case of Barry Trotz. Can we get Tom Wilson on the way on this?
Holy smokes.
Make sure he finally made it to Toronto, and then see where he feels about what's going on with Barry Trotz. The Capitals head coach tendered his resignation from the team, becoming a free agent after leading the franchise to its first ever Stanley Cup on June 7th.
Okay, so
Lots to get to.
Let's set as easy as I can here. He signed a deal in 2014, did Trotz. And as part of that deal, if he won a Stanley Cup, a 2-year extension would kick in, bumping his salary by $300,000. Now, he signed that in 2014. During that time, it was a couple of coaches, Joel Quenneville and Mike Babcock, signed big deals, monster deals in that time.
Yep.
So Trotz wins the Stanley Cup, that kicks in the 2-year extension, but he goes for more. He wants a 5-year extension for more money. And as the GM for Washington said, his representative wants to take advantage of Barry's experience and Stanley Cup win. Yes. And was trying to negotiate a deal that compensates him as one of the better coaches in the league, top 4 or 5 coaches. And basically, they couldn't agree on this 5 years that Trotz wanted and more money. But basically, it was the 5 years. So Trotz resigned. The Islanders is the only job available, so he's probably going to either get that or he's going to sit for a year before he comes to coach again. But that's basically it. Wins a Stanley Cup. This has happened before, and then leaves the next year. I think it's what happened. What did you say this morning? 5 times in the last 40 years?
5 times in the last 40 years, but usually it's been for guys on the back end of their career, guys who are retiring because of old age.
Yeah. Scotty Bowman, by the way, retired after 2002. Because he'd done everything he possibly could. The last time an active coach just resigned and then went on to coach again happened in 1994 when Mike Keenan led the Rangers to their first Stanley Cup since 1940. And then he said the Rangers breached the contract. Well, this is really fascinating because I was in St. Louis in 94, and as soon as this happened, the Blues front office went all in on getting Mike Keenan. Mike Keenan did eventually come to the St. Louis Blues and became the coach there for a few years. But the way Keenan sort of got out of the contract, the Rangers were 1 day late on a bonus payment.
1 day late.
1 day late. So they were 1 day late, and Mike Keenan held a press conference that says the Rangers have breached the contract. I have accepted that breach, and now I am a free agent. It was unbelievable. Wow. And then the Rangers held this press conference saying, these are all the things we did for Mike Keenan that we didn't have to do. We got him these, tickets to a Broadway show, all this kind of stuff. But, technically, Keenan was right.
Technically, it was right, but it looked like a Bush League move, right?
It was significant.
I like the idea of accepting a breach.
Yes.
I accept your breach. Exactly. You have breached and I accept.
The Clippers not as accepting of Houston's breach earlier this season.
Exactly.
Doc Clippers?
Yeah. Exactly right. Doc Clippers. So it's interesting. I mean, Barry, so either you think that Barry Trotz is all in on coaching the Islanders, which would seem a little strange because they've really struggled, and the Caps have had the best record the last 4 years when he's been there, or does it look more like he's willing to sit the year out?
I think it's one, first and foremost, it's one of those, hey, wait a minute, okay, I know I signed that, the 2-year extension kicks in at not a lot of more money, and these guys just sign money. Yeah. I don't blame them for trying to do now that they couldn't come to a negotiated agreement for that, because it seems like the 5 years was the big sticking point, as Washington was saying, listen, he's only been here 4 years, now he wants 5 years added to that.
You just won the first Stanley Cup ever.
As they were saying, most coaches don't last 9 years, so all of a sudden we're doing that, but off the heels of just winning their first Stanley Cup. So I kind of get it from both sides. I'm a little surprised because they were working on a new deal since they won the Cup that they weren't able to come to some kind of agreement on this.
Well, and especially because it's not just the Cup. I mean, in the 4 years he's been there, they've got the best record in the NHL in that time period. They've got 2 President's trophies. Now, the hallmark of the tenure had still been, like the entirety of Ovi's time there, they hadn't been able to get over that hump. But now that you've added that and you've shown, all right, we've been able to match this consistency with the ability to get over that hump, which is a little more random. This is surprising, and to me shows the one thing over anything else, the value that this one cup alone has for this franchise in this area.
Correct.
You know what's amazing is that the general manager, Brian McClellan, basically said if they lost again like they had, he was going to be fired. Well, Trotz was. Yeah. He said we couldn't get out of the second round, and Barry hadn't been able to coach out of the second round yet either. I think from the organization's perspective, some changes would have been made had we lost in the second round again.
But you know what? They didn't.
They won.
The second round.
They won.
I mean, they won it all. And let's get Ovi's reaction to the entire thing.
Yeah!
Of course, that's not him reacting to
No, he's not. No. And again, the general manager said, I think the 5-year term is probably a sticking point. You have a coach that's been there 4 years. You do another 5 years. That's 9 years. There's not many coaches that have that lasting ability. So,
well, yes and no. But you know where he was before he came to Washington? He was the Predators head coach for 15 seasons. I mean, he lasted 15 seasons in Nashville. So 9 when you've won the first Stanley Cup in 43 years of your franchise history.
Surprised
it seems like you would want to work this out.
It seems like it. What I will say in defense of their process, if it's true that they were going to fire him if he didn't make it out of that, is they had been making it to that level in the playoffs for a while before him. So I'm sure they figured we can do that after him. So if you're being procedurally driven in this and you're saying that was going to be the difference between us firing him and us maybe not bringing him back, I can kind of respect the organization sticking to its plan and saying, we know what we've built here. We don't think it's beholden to one guy for the dollar amount that he wants in all of this. And to me, it'll still say this one cup meant a lot to this franchise. And so the idea of repeating, while it would be great, doesn't appear to be paramount in this, because if you're going to do that, you'd want to keep this as cohesive as possible.
Again, and then the question I would ask, if winning a Stanley Cup and being a part of it as the head coach and bringing the first Stanley Cup to a franchise that has been historically one of the worst in playoff performances in the league over that time frame, if that doesn't add value to you, what does? I mean, what else could he have done to add more value to himself as a head coach besides winning the freaking Stanley Cup?
Yeah,
what else could he have done?
And it looks like they're going to try probably keep it in-house. They've been grooming the associate head coach, Todd Reardon, for the head coaching gig, so it looks like they'll just elevate and stay
good
within.
luck to you, Todd. We know what the standard is.
Yeah.
Certainly a nice leverage point for that team, though, is he's saying, hey, you say, listen, we've got this guy that's been waiting here right now, that's been learning from you and been a part of this every step of the way, coached a lot of the defense for them. So got to think that wasn't necessarily a feather in his cap.
So what's more of a concern? That looks like Todd Reardon may be the guy trying to do something that Barry Trotz did, which is win a Stanley Cup, or that any of the Capitals will still be drunk by the time the season starts.
Oh, well, they're all going to be drunk. That's a given, yeah.
The over-under on games next year might be 12, because they're still going to be celebrating this
without question
for a long, long time. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance, with more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. So, it's kind of started out as the summer of Ovi, with the things that have gone on with them winning the Cup. But it's about to be the summer of LeBron. And there is a fast approaching deadline for one team in the mix. And as we know, as our friend Andrew Brandt says, deadlines spur action. We'll get into that, Mike.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us at 860-506-5505 and weigh in on the topics of the day. That's 860-506-5505. What's your take on traveling back in time with Juan Soto? What's your take on Barry Trotz leaving the Caps, and maybe the Caps not ponying up to keep him? That's a lot to get to, but it is time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts, and it is all in right now on LeBron.
From the beaches of L.A. to Houston, from Boston to the Bay, and to Cleveland, this is LeBron Watch.
And it's getting interesting. Jer Bear, our great sound guy, or as you called him this morning, the director of all creativity.
Yeah, I would say it was Jay-Z now with Puma. He's the creative director there.
Same title.
Let's just call Jerry the creative director of Golic and Wingo.
Slightly different pay scale. But yes, same title. It's a promotion in title. He put that together, and it was a throwaway line, and Cleveland.
Yeah.
Well, hang on now. It looks like Cleveland might be the place, more than anywhere else, where LeBron wants to stay. The question is it going to be possible? Here was Brian Windhorst on the 6 p.m. Sports Center last night and said this.
He wants to stay in Cleveland. He's looking for a reason to stay in Cleveland. But the trouble is, when we get to July 6th or July 8th, when he's about to make that decision, what will have the Boston Celtics done by then? What will have the 76ers done by then? What will have the Lakers have done by then? And how will that compare to the Cavs and what they're able to do? After 4 years at the top, they're going to have a lot fewer options than those other teams. And that's the real issue LeBron is looking at.
Okay, so as a Clevelander, Mike, when you hear this from Windhorst, who knows LeBron better than anybody, saying he's looking for the team to give him a reason to stay, does this give you more hope?
Well, I don't know if it can give me more hope because the team can't do a whole lot as constructed right now. I mean, it would almost have to be a brand new team to try and bring it. Now, we're talking about the Kawhi Leonard deal and what that would entail. Obviously, that's not going to get done before, oh, by the way, the draft is Thursday. Does Cleveland go into the draft drafting or with the mentality of LeBron's going to be on this team or not be on this team? They're not going to know. It doesn't seem like he's giving them that information in the next 2 days on what he's going to do. So what's the strategy for the Cavaliers in this draft with their pick? And then again, the Kawhi Leonard thing, that would so change the team because if they stand pat, they basically, they don't have money to bring in any, certainly not a max guy. You're talking the exceptions, the 5.5 millions and or lower, I believe, in this situation. So it's not like a whole lot can change.
Yeah. I wonder what the level of communication is like between LeBron and the organization at this point, because if he was going to stay, if he was truly looking for ways to stay, then the idea of figuring out how we get Kawhi to come to Cleveland would seem to be paramount in all of this as the only way to make this team better enough to justify him staying. But if not, I can understand him, like we've heard, wanting to drag this out to its ultimate end and not communicate anything, because at the end of the day, Dan Gilbert is still the one at the top of this organization, and him and LeBron James, that is still never going to be a relationship that has any positives to it.
And that's a shame, because you would like, if it would not it's not going to be Gilbert, but Kobe Altman, if he had, he talked to LeBron before they basically got an entirely new team at the trade deadline. So to your point, I agree. You would love there to be some communication going on. When we have Tom Penn on, he can certainly talk of the numbers of what it would cost Cleveland to bring in a guy like Kawhi, because if you don't bring in Kawhi, you basically have the same team. You're basically saying we're going in with, you might tinker here and there, but basically the same team to try and win another championship.
And then the issue becomes, when does Cleveland have to decide what they're going to do? That's going to be before LeBron is going to decide what he has to do. And that's why Thursday is such a critical deadline when the draft is here. And here's Windhorst explaining that.
They have to decide between team building, refreshing this roster, getting some youth, growing some young players, and they've got to decide between LeBron building, which would maybe be to trade the 8th pick, maybe see what the market is for Kevin Love, to get older players who may not be able to help you in 2 or 3 years. You know how this is so difficult? They put themselves here because when they decided last summer to trade Kyrie Irving for a draft pick, it became apparent that this was ultimately going to lead to this type of decision. And so they're also in the dark. LeBron is not going to talk to them and tell them which he prefers. They're going to have to operate independently of LeBron. This is going to be a very interesting draft night for the Cavs and their future.
It is, and they'll have to play this out sort of blind, not knowing what LeBron is going to do.
I guess a point to me would be, and a question is, does LeBron owe them any explanation right now? And if LeBron, one of the ways I would say yes is if LeBron truly wants to stay in Cleveland. If he truly says, you know what, man, I would love to stay here, then you would think he would be talking, not to Gilbert because they don't get along, but to Kobe Altman, the GM, about, hey, if I'm going to stay, I do want to stay here, but this is probably where we need to go or what we need to do. But I don't know. I mean, it just seems like that relationship, certainly at the top, is broken. So I don't know what, if any, communication at all would go on. But if he truly, in his heart, wanted to stay in Cleveland, wouldn't you think that you would say, okay, I want to stay here, and this is kind of the direction I think we need to go. Well, can we get there?
Well, and for someone who, we understand LeBron is not the GM the way people have tried to play it out over the years, but you've got a vested interest in what this team does pick in the draft, how you go about maybe using that pick as a package with someone like Kevin Love to maybe get Kawhi there. So there are ways it would benefit to you. So I understand exactly what you're saying in this. I just wonder if that desire to potentially hurt Dan Gilbert trumps the rest of that in this, because LeBron, his legacy is going to be secure in Cleveland. However he leaves this team, he leaves them giving them the greatest thing they could have ever hoped for.
Came back and brought him a championship.
Yeah, we talk about that with the Caps right now. They seem like, all right, we're willing to risk not winning another Stanley Cup by breaking up this team, not bringing Barry Trotz back, because we got what we needed already. Because if you're Cleveland and you're the organization, there's a level of honesty in this process that's got to be uncomfortable, because Brian said it. Are you team building or are you LeBron building? Yeah. What good has team building done you without LeBron in the history of this team? Should every bit of your motivation not be focused on keeping this guy? Because I'm sorry, you had the number one pick and you got Kyrie Irving the last time around, and you were still a bottom dweller without LeBron James until he came back. So is there any indication, is there any honest moment where you say, if we don't keep this guy, we slip into oblivion?
Well, real quick, the last time they had the number one, they took Anthony Bennett, which was a disaster.
Yeah.
And then, but Kyrie was
the top pick.
No, you're exactly right. The issue then becomes, if you're the Spurs in any way, shape, or form, does the 8th pick and Kevin Love do it for you?
Listen, now I'm looking at reality in that situation. To me, there's no way the Cavaliers have enough to offer San Antonio, especially if Boston is truly getting into this with what Boston can offer with young talent and draft picks, or even the Lakers with young talent and some draft picks, as opposed to what Cleveland can offer you if San Antonio wants to get younger and start to rebuild from the older players.
I guess the only thing you could say is and we had Charles on yesterday basically saying, if you're the Spurs, why do you want to build a super team in the West? So if you're going to ship Kawhi out, maybe you do ship him somewhere where he's not, you won't have to deal with him and your path to the finals, and that may be something that helps in the Cleveland scenario.
That's Boston then.
Probably.
If Boston is truly interested in this. To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
So Stanza gets in my ear and goes, we're going to toss you the mic screen. Don't drop it. We know you were a lineman. And so, of course, Devin proceeds to come in here and lob me up an absolute meatball that bounces off the table. Thankfully, I'm a dynamic athlete. Devin, what the hell kind of toss was that?
It was a bad toss. I'm really sorry.
Lesser athlete would have fallen off an elliptical. Don't let them try and divide us with rejoins, Devin. All right? This is underhanded and classless, quite frankly, by everyone else involved in this show.
Well, welcome to the show. We are the most petty show in radio, so this cannot be a surprise.
This is true. Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today.
All right, so we're continuing here on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Give us a call, 860-506-5505, and weigh in on the topics of the day. Right now, we're talking about where LeBron may go, but you have a tweet that you think may be one of the worst all time.
It has to do with LeBron and Phil Mickelson, the comparison. Remember Phil Mickelson hitting a moving golf ball, and it basically he's taking advantage of the rules, was kind of keeping his hip pocket, and nobody liked his explanation. Brian says LeBron can take advantage of the NBA rules and go to Golden State just as Filthy Phil could take advantage of the rules to hit a moving putt rolling off the green to the championship. Sportsmanship is gone with both taking advantage of rules. Brian, what the hell are you talking about?
Where are
LeBron
you?
is called free agency.
Yeah.
How is he taking advantage of the NBA rules?
He's allowed to pick where he wants to play.
How can you even put those two together? It blows my mind.
That's bad.
Yeah, there was a hamstring that just exploded in the midst of that stretch.
Yeah.
I can understand you're taking advantage, like we talked about. This is NBA teams, by the way, taking advantage of these max deals that allow them to sign multiple superstars. But I understand in that loose way of thinking. But Phil was purporting to take advantage of a technicality in a game.
Which, by the way, he said when it happened, if you read the article by Ian O'Connor, he had no idea what the rule was.
Yeah, exactly. So he was lying to our faces about trying to take advantage of a technicality as opposed to just working within the framework provided.
Yeah. So Brian,
loose at best.
Brian split screen LeBron and Phil Mickelson and tried to compare it. And Brian, I'm sorry, there's no shot of that.
And it just goes to this issue. We should talk about this later. We'll get into it. Why people are so upset with the idea of players controlling their own destiny.
That's exactly
because
right.
there's always been dynasties in the NBA. Always.
Always.
All the way through the 50s, there's always been dynastic teams, but it was the teams that did it as opposed to the players.
Players doing it
And
now.
I don't understand why people have a problem with players controlling their own destiny. Wouldn't we all like that situation?
We would all like it, but they're taking the easy way out now, Trey. You know, these damn millennials are taking the easy way out.
Well, apparently some people think LeBron going to L.A. would be taking the easy way out as well. Here's Stephen A. Smith on First Take saying if he goes there, there's less pressure.
If you go to Boston, championship or bust. You go to Houston, championship or bust. You go to the Lakers. They still got to get other pieces, and even then, you ain't going to be favored over the Golden State Warriors in all likelihood, and possibly not even favored over the Houston Rockets. So because that's your reality, now it takes some of the load off of you. And I think that's what Shaq was alluding to. I don't necessarily agree. I think if you playing, you should be playing to win championships at all times. But if the guy says, I've been to 8 straight finals, I've won 3 rings, what are they going to say? I'm not trying to win. Nobody can accuse me of that anymore. Now I want to make the best quality of life decision. He could actually get away with it by going to L.A. because they still wouldn't be perceived as being good enough.
Okay, so let me ask you guys a question here. I understand what he's saying because the Laker fans will be so jubilant to be relevant again. There will be less pressure. But wherever LeBron goes, it's going to be about winning.
Well, it is. But to the point that Stephen A. said, and I said this about players and coaches all the time, what's your motivating factor? Is LeBron's motivating factor still to get to the championship and win them, which you would think every player would have that. But he's in a position, what if it was for quality? What if it was for his family? He has 2 places out in L.A. What if that's where he really wants his family to be? I can't fault a guy for making that decision at all, but if he goes there, there's still going to be now, if he's there and Paul George is there, as I said all along, they're not winning the championship with those 2. You throw Kawhi into the mix now, and we're not going to find that out before LeBron probably makes that decision, but, you know, a lot of people can be talking. You throw Kawhi into that mix with those 3. Now I do think they have a legitimate shot to win a championship. But as I've always said, it's what motivates you now. And for LeBron, if it's history, if it's continue to go into the finals and playing for a championship, that's what you want your players to do, isn't it? I mean, again, as we look out and or from the outside look in, we want our guys playing for the championships. Well, some guys just choose teams for different reasons at times.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's if at this point, if LeBron stayed in Cleveland, I would argue that winning a championship doesn't mean a whole lot to him. Right? Like, I mean, if he stayed home, you don't look at that organization as currently constructed and say
they can't build anything.
That would be his principal motivation in any iteration. So if his motivation is to win a championship, but there's also this understanding, I think, of LeBron that he believes, and rightly so, based on what we saw this season, that anywhere he goes has a raffle ticket to the championship.
Yeah.
What it takes to be Golden State remains to be seen because it took one instance with a lot of variables involved. But to do that consistently, we have to see that league-wide right now, but LeBron at the least knows wherever he is has a shot to be in the dance.
Yeah. Still the biggest difference, though, because I get what Shaq was saying, but Shaq was at the end of his career. LeBron James is still the best player in the world.
Exactly right. I mean, Shaq was on when he was chasing rings and he said, don't do it. Basically, he was like, well, I got a few years
He was
left.
a piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
LeBron is the puzzle still.
Exactly. LeBron is all the border pieces and like halfway to the middle. I mean, that's the difference with him. So again, we'll continue this going on, but Thursday with the draft is going to be a really interesting day for the Cavs because they'll have to make their decision without fully knowing yet, we believe, what LeBron is actually going to do. Okay. There's something that could happen in baseball that would make us lose Tim Kurkjian, which means this can never happen. Plus, we will choose a World Cup sounder for our continuing coverage. We'll get to that as well. Stay with us. Golic and Wingo.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday morning. Mike Golic Jr., Trae Wingo here, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Man, there's a lot going on right now with the World Cup, with Barry Trotz leaving the Capitals, and people trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen with LeBron. We got a lot of shifting sand underneath us in the sports world.
We do,
now.
And then in baseball, there's time travel. That one of our own, one of our own favorites, is basically saying he's going to retire if something happens along with that time travel.
Got to put a stop to this. Got to put a stop to that, by the way. I refuse to lose our national treasure.
No, Timmy can't go anywhere. We'll get into that in just a little bit. The NBA draft is coming up on Thursday, and of course, that's the big impetus for the LeBron situation as we are all full in.
This is LeBron Watch.
Because the Cavs may have to make a decision with what they're going to do with that 8th pick, either trade it or keep it, without knowing what LeBron James' final decision is.
I don't see all of a sudden now that LeBron, unless LeBron completely wants to stay in Cleveland and is all in and says, okay, what are we going to do with that pick? What can we do to build this team? I don't see that happening, so I don't think they're going to know. So they're going in having to decide, and they put themselves in this position by trading Kyrie away when they really didn't have to. But they did because Kyrie wanted out, to now having to make a decision about this pick.
It kind of reminds me of how nonsensical that phrase, it's not personal, it's just business, always seems to be when it applies to sports.
What's more personal than business?
I mean, you look at the two driving forces behind this NBA offseason are going to end up being in some way or another affecting this. Dan Gilbert's poor relationship with LeBron based on past transgressions, and Kawhi Leonard's poor relationship with the Spurs based on how things were managed and dealt with his injury, the interpersonal relationships that resulted during the season from that, all going to end up driving the two biggest business decisions of the offseason.
Absolutely. And we've got the draft coming up again on Thursday. Lon Kruger, the head coach of Oklahoma, will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Talking about Trae Young, a guy that could be there at 8 or 9 for the Cleveland Cavaliers or maybe the New York Knicks after that. What he thinks about his potential at the next level after his one season at Oklahoma. We've also got Brettology coming up later on this hour. And I got to tell you, during the break, I wasn't here last week for this. Brettology last week was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was very good. I went 0 for 4, so it wasn't that good.
I actually went 2 for 4. I won't count it in the standings.
No, it doesn't count.
Brett, but you can't confirm. I did go 2 for 4.
I delivered last week's Brettology to Trae while we were getting in our steps in the break, and he went 2 for 4.
Yeah, doesn't count though.
No, it doesn't. But I will say the one he made up about the wooden king coming back and then dead and the donkey that pooped gold.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a deranged mind at work.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Brett's a serial killer. I'm convinced. After last week's Brettology, I'm convinced that Brett has some tendencies that we need to explore. So we're going to see if they're displayed yet again in Brettology this week.
That was a little frightening, and I was very impressed at the same time. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's start this hour, as we normally do, with what's trending. And what's trending is the Astros are good. They overcame a 4-run deficit and extended their winning streak to 12 straight on Alex Bregman's walk-off 2-run double in the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, he's done that a couple times this year for Houston. And the last team with a win streak like this to overcome at least a 4-run deficit with a win streak of at least 12 games. You go back to September 2nd, 2002, the A's overcame a 5-run deficit against the Royals to extend their win streak to 19 straight. So Astros just on fire. We were talking earlier, obviously, about the Seattle Mariners when they were on top of that division. Seattle's really only 2 behind, and this is based off still a Houston 12-game winning streak. So Seattle's still right there. The Angels have fallen back. They're 10.5 back. But Houston, continuing on from that World Series championship last year.
Yep, and have a pretty strong chance of continuing that streak tonight with Justin Verlander on the mound.
That helps.
Yeah. He's been pretty good, basically trailing only Jacob deGrom when it comes to most pitching stats right now, including his 1.61 ERA, second to only deGrom, and Verlander's actually getting the run support, which has to be a nice feeling that deGrom is looking longingly at from his prison in the Mets.
Yeah, again, just so people understand what we're looking at with Justin Verlander, the lowest opponent batting average in a single season among qualified pitchers, it's Pedro Martinez at 167 in 2000, Luis Tiant in 1967, Nolan Ryan in 1971, and Nolan Ryan again, 1991.
My God.
That's the most impressive thing. 20 years later, Nolan Ryan was still throwing gas like that.
I was looking at that wondering if that was a typo. That's insanity.
No. And opponents are just hitting 160 against Verlander right now. That would set the record if he continued that all season. If he continued that all season, good God, all power to him for a lot of reasons, actually. And then if Juan Soto, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Juan Soto is a time traveler. He is what Ronda Rousey isn't. We found that out yesterday in the Bronx.
All right, so, I mean, we're going to try to explain this.
Good luck.
All right.
I'm going to put my feet up.
All
you
right.
go work for a minute.
All right, according to Elias Sports.
Oh, yeah.
Soto's home run is not considered his first career home run. That will go into the record books from May 21st against the San Diego Padres. Elias also tells us that Soto is the first player to hit a home run in a suspended game that started before his major league debut. So that's what he did. Nationals rookie hit a pinch-hit home run, bottom of the sixth inning, in a game that was suspended from May 15th. Soto made his major league debut May 20th, but the home run will officially count on May 15th, the date of the original game, 5 days before his major league debut.
Sure.
Good luck.
Yes.
With that.
So if you think, has that ever happened before? It actually has happened before. And of course, the one person that would know that would be our own Tim Kirkjian.
The fact that he was in the minor leagues at AA 2 weeks before the May 15 game started is really confusing, but I've seen this happen before. It happened with Dave Parker once, it happened with Barry Bonds once, and if it ever happens that one guy plays in the same game for two teams involved in the game, then that will be it. I will retire because it's possible a pitcher can get a win and a loss in the same game. And when that happens, I will have to leave because nothing could get better than that.
So that can never happen, right? That's because we cannot lose,
can't lose
our national treasure in Tim Kirkjian. So that can never happen.
It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bizarre thing trying to explain it.
Whatever lengths I have to go to figure this out, whatever lengths I have to go to stop this, if I have to go Terminator style and go back in time and stop someone from going back in time to make this happen, I'll do it. That's how much I care about Tim.
He mentioned Parker and Bonds, though Soto was the first with a home run. For Barry Bonds, it was concerning his first career hit. I'm not going to get into the dates and the times and all that because it's just too confusing. Yeah. Just know it happened.
Yeah, just know this much. A home run that Juan Soto hit on May 15th is his sixth Major League homer, even though he made his Major League debut on May 20th.
And by the way, what was the little thing you threw in there about Washington, which actually won the suspended game that was continued?
They won the continuation game, but because, again, it took place back in time, they're still on what I think now is a four-game losing streak.
Sure. Why wouldn't it be? It makes all the sense in the world.
Oh, my head hurts.
Sports.
Yeah, I was told there would be no math or science. Okay, England were staring at a draw in their opening match against Tunisia, the Eagles of Carthage, in their World Cup opener until Harry Kane scored a header in stoppage time to secure the 2-1 win, Mike.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a draw. I thought you were going to be sick from it. Tunisia, by the way, winless in 12 straight World Cup matches dating back to 1978. And by the way, this is England's first win in the opening round since 2006 against Paraguay. They were winless in the previous two World Cup openers, so a good one for them. Kane coming through with the header. Big win for them.
Big win for them, and a big win for Ed Sheeran.
This is
in
amazing.
all of this. I thought this is a
Throw
cool,
this out there.
I thought this is a cool one.
Fantastic.
So this is courtesy our own Darren Ravel threw this repost up on his Instagram feed. But Ed Sheeran posted this. Ed Sheeran, who is English, posted a picture of an England jersey and wrote on it, said, "My mom bought me a fake England jersey in 1998 because it was cheaper. It only had 2 lions on it, and the kids in school made fun of me for it. Now I've sold out 7 Wembleys, and I get England shirts for free. Yay, Ed Sheeran."
That is awesome, dude.
So stick it to all those people that made fun of me, basically, is what he's saying.
Now, he also wrote the lyrics to Perfect on another jersey, and anyone who puts it on gets pregnant and married automatically.
Well,
so maybe find that one.
Wow. And he had an appearance in Game of Thrones last season.
Yeah, big time.
Was it 2 seasons ago? I can't remember. Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
I think it might have been 2 seasons ago.
It means he's probably dead, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was just a Lannister guard. They were going to throw them away. They put him in as a minstrel.
Quick side note, we're getting Game of Thrones prequels.
Oh, yes. Come on, you knew this was coming.
Oh, yeah.
You knew they had to keep the gravy train going. Right?
No one tell Herm.
Yeah.
Please, God, no one tell
Herm. Tell our boy Herm Edwards.
Bad guy's got a dragon.
Bad guy's got a dragon. A little spoiler. Didn't work. Okay, so the World Cup and Game of Thrones is what everybody's talking about. It's brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. So we're trying to figure out here what we're doing. As we got today's matches in the World Cup. You got Colombia against Japan.
Colombia against Japan, for what we care, that's the staff against Trae.
I have Japan.
Colombia, right, you have Japan. The staff has Colombia. Portugal against Senegal. I have Portugal. I mean Poland. Yeah. I have Poland, and Mike has Senegal. And then it's Russia against Egypt. The staff has Russia, and Mike, you have Egypt. So that's all we care about is our snake draft. 4 different teams here. Each have 8 teams for our team, and we're scoring it. 3 for a win, 1 for a tie, nothing for a loss. So that's all that matters right now.
And right now, Junior, are you in the lead?
Junior's in the lead with 11 points. Yeah. The staff has 10. Trey, you and I have 9.
Well, but we're right there. We're all bunched.
All tight.
Me and Devin, I would appreciate you guys addressing us as the nucleus.
Yeah, you weren't here the day, so Devin made the picks for you. So you have him as a teammate since you guys are trying for the golf world record.
Yeah, the Baloney Boys.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Baloney Boys. So speaking of baloney, we need to figure out, our World Cup sounder when something good happens, right? So we need to make sure we have something, whether it's a breaking news from the World Cup or a goal that's scored that gives us some points. So we need to go through these. We need to be part of the process.
Okay.
Everybody needs part of the process. You ready?
Yep.
Our good friends have come up with these sounders for the World Cup. Here is option number 1. I like that one. Now, that sounds like it might have been better for the 2014 World Cup, which was in Brazil.
Yeah.
That had a definitive South American vibe to it, did it not?
That did. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, that sounds a little more like, that's like the Waka Waka Shakira version.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's...
Great tune.
Then there's this one.
Yeah,
for a Russian World Cup. I'm saying that's going to be tough to beat.
That is.
That one's going to be tough to beat. Although we have 2 other options. So here's the third option.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
The finish.
Wow.
The finish.
Okay, so let's play that one again. That's pretty solid.
I still like the second one.
Okay, so one's out, right? Because that's
one's out.
Yeah, one's out. So 2 was good. You like 2. I kind of like 3.
Okay.
I'm told 4 is the bomb diggity. You ready? By the way, I wish we put a camera on Stanzik when we played that. He gave us a little shimmy shoulder shake.
Play me 2 again.
Well, I'm going to play them all again.
No,
okay.
Forget 1. One's out.
One's out. Okay, here is 2. Again, it's a World Cup in Russia. All right, pretty good.
Okay.
Allie likes that one.
I like that one.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Golic likes 2. Here's 3.
This is like it's like if Russia took over CMA Fest.
I like the ending, but the rest of it doesn't move quite fast enough for me.
I think I may agree with you. I do like we stick the landing on that one, though. I do
you
like
do
that
stick
one.
the yes.
A little too country.
Okay, and then here's the last one.
It's pretty good too.
That's the dance mix.
Okay, so it's between 2 and 4. Right?
I'm voting. My vote is for 2.
All right, let's play them one more time. Brett's on 2. Allie's on 2.
Play him again. Okay,
2 and 4. We're down to 2 and 4.
We're down to 2 and 4. Here we go. Our World Cup sounder for the next month. So you guys better get used to this. Here we go. Here's 2. Okay. It didn't have to stick the landing.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
And then here's 4. I don't know, man. That's very tough.
All right. Well, we got what 3?
Whoa. We have an update to the update sounders.
What do we got?
Jerry, our creative director, as we're now calling him.
Yes. Same as
Can
Jay-Z.
put that ending of the 4th one
on the second one.
On the second one.
Whoa.
I think that's the winner.
Well, we're going to need to hear it.
We're going to need to hear it.
We're going to need to hear it.
Get to work, Jerry.
The ending from the 3rd one, I'm sorry.
The ending for the 3rd one.
And from the third one on the second one, then that to me, that's going to be it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, the 4th one. Where's he going to put
play 2, then play 3.
Okay.
So play 2 and then say, all right, now the end of 3.
And the end of 3.
Okay, so here's 2.
Now, the end of 3 is going to be at the end of 2.
So it's and then this one.
So that's going to be the end of 2.
The little hay, it just jumps off at you.
You know, all that's missing is the vodka.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to take care. I got 2 bottles of vodka in my office, and I'm not kidding.
I took care of that already. We're good. We're good.
Oh, okay.
We're good on the vodka.
Oh, I thought you said you took care of the vodka in my office.
No,
I took care of that vodka.
I'm taking care of that next commercial break.
All right.
Okay, so we're getting that.
Okay.
Jerry's putting together what we believe will be the ultimate World Cup sounder for us. We'll get that going.
Okay.
So, he's our creative director.
Yes, he is.
Speaking of creative directors, Jay-Z, as we're getting set for the draft, is now the creative director for Puma. They are going big into the shoe business, and apparently it's having the exact effect that Puma would be hoping it's happening.
Oh, absolutely is. I mean, the whole idea of coming out with Puma's not new. It's an old becoming new again.
Yes.
But you got to get players to buy in. And right now, you have who was considered the top pick in the draft. DeAndre Ayton has signed with them. Marvin Bagley III has signed with them. He is projected to go 5th in this draft to the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll see if he moves up. And also one other, is it Zaire Smith also has signed with Puma. He is projected to go 16th to the Phoenix Suns. So actually, Ayton and Smith, if this draft would hold, what we see the mock draft, they would be teammates. But they have all signed with Puma. And listen, these are business deals. I mean, Nike's out there. We know the other brands that are out there. And I don't think there's any doubt that Jay-Z is going to having the influence here. Again, with what he's done with Rock Nation, certainly has been huge. But just how monstrous he is having an effect on these guys.
So this is a big deal. We already have seen, like you mentioned, the agency world, but as far as the creative outlets for this, and with the athlete version, now these are the first NBA players to sign with this, but Skylar Diggins in the WNBA, the former Notre Dame star, has been signed to a Puma deal before this now. She is a Puma client and a Rock Nation client with Jay-Z. And then on top of that, not long ago, Rihanna, who also works with Jay-Z musically, put out a line, a Puma shoe, not too long ago. So this is a brand that trying here to deliver on the idea of culture. And they've said they want to integrate what we're doing in music, in culture, with these guys that are firmly a part of that. And as we've seen, athletes, regardless of the league, whether it's the NBA or the NFL, be more involved in these outside cultures and shaping things around their league. I think this is something that's going to appeal to guys, as well as fistfuls of cash.
Well, listen, money will always talk, but the reason that they brought in Jay-Z was he thinks he can bring in the guys, which will bring them want to sign with. So it's all circular here, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And so here we go. As far as Puma is concerned, the last person they signed, Vince Carter, who, oh, by the way, is still playing.
Still playing.
But this was in 1998.
My God.
Puma signed Vince Carter in 1998 to a 10-year deal, although that contract was ended after just 2 seasons. But I like this, how they brought the old with the new. Before unveiling its new basketball sneaker this week, Puma signed its first signature athlete, Walt Clyde Frazier, to a lifetime contract in a great ceremony in New York. The brand's new silhouette is expected to be a modernized update to Frazier's iconic original Clyde sneaker from 1973 with a knit construction and today's technology. So updating that shoe. That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
That's very cool to tie in the old with the new.
And look, to your generation, I mean, my son has about 30 pairs of sneakers. He keeps them in the box all the time. I mean, this is a thing with this generation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's social capital. It's like anything else. And a lot of these guys now that are signing these contracts are guys that grew up understanding the significance of sneakers and just what it means in your cool factor. So for these guys to now, in their minds, I'm sure, go to a different spot. I think I saw this quote from Marvin Bagley, because with a lot of this, as we saw with that FBI probe, you have sneaker companies tied in with these circuits for AAU basketball, right, all these different places where they get their hands on these kids young. So they create this sense of duty to these brands later on. Marvin Bagley basically said, listen, Nike's Nike, Adidas is Adidas. I've got a chance to get a lot of money off this and go to a place now where, selfishly, as I look for this as a sneaker fan and as someone who just enjoys watching this innovation, if you can get actual competition in this realm from Puma, it makes everybody better. If you've got another player in the market, it forces everyone else to say, what can we do better in this process? And so we all win.
So as a consumer of the shoe market, as you are, what will you stand out to you when this stuff comes out? What's going to make you say, that's cool, that's different, something I haven't seen before?
I mean, it's going to all be how it looks. That's what it comes down to, is at the end of the day. That's why Adidas has been able to make such a great push lately, is because they've come out with A, shoes that are comfortable and wearable, but B, also shoes that are visually pleasing, and in a lot of cases, affordable. And I know that's been a big push with a lot of people, is creating more surplus, because for so long, I mean, God, you had people dying in the name of sneakers, which everyone recognized is patently offensive and insane. Now, there's still a big secondary sneaker market, but these guys are trying to make more affordable shoes for kids like they once were. They understand how hard it was, and I think guys are a little more acute to that. So I'll be very interested in how Puma goes about this, if that's the route that they choose to try and make a shoe that's both quality and affordable.
So is the pricing going to be a big part of it in your mind?
Well, I have to, for mass appeal, if you're trying to appeal to the most possible people throughout this process. We've seen, you know what, a lot of it, I'll be interested how much it follows what we've seen with Steph Curry and Under Armour, because Under Armour was not a big sneaker player in this marketplace the way it was, and now you've seen through Steph's signature line them push their way into this field a little more. You wonder how it's going to marry up to what that process has looked like.
You can make a very compelling argument that up until this time when they're getting these NBA players, the biggest Puma star was Ricky Fowler.
That's exactly right.
On the PGA Tour. So obviously they're going in another direction, trying to get more people in. We'll find that out. And we'll find out if maybe some people calling this guy the next Steph Curry, maybe he'll be a guy that's wearing those shoes. We'll talk to his college coach.
Kruger, my son tells me your company stinks.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Glad you're with us, Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can get in touch with us on our call-in line, 860-506-5505. And, of course, it's a big week in the NBA. We have the draft coming up on Thursday. We got a lot going on there, and one of those guys that really captivated a lot of college basketball fans this season was Oklahoma's Trae Young and the things he was able to do. And it's going to be an interesting discussion about where he'll go in that first round.
Now in the ultimate grade A mock draft, it has him going number 9 to the Knicks.
Wow. Yep. Interesting. Some people think he might be going to the Cavs potentially at 8. Michael Porter, is that who they see going there on the latest mock?
Michael Porter right now in this draft is 6 to Orlando. Yeah. In the latest mock draft I'm looking at. So, But again, who knows how quickly those things change.
Well, you're right, and it's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward, especially with what Cleveland may or may not do with the 8th pick. By the way, this time tomorrow, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver will join us. So we'll get his take on the draft and other things going forward, including the potential done of the one-and-done rule in the NBA and some other things that are going on. But we're delighted to be joined now by Oklahoma head coach Lon Kruger on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. That is a lot to say to a guy who's done a lot in college basketball, Lon Kruger, the Big 12 Coach of the Year in 2014. Lon, thanks for being with us this morning. What are your expectations for the guy that was your superstar freshman this past season, Trae Young, at the next level?
Oh, great things lie ahead. Great to be with you this morning. Appreciate that. And we're excited for Trae. He's worked hard. He's had a terrific freshman year, as you all know, and we'll keep getting better. And I think the NBA game is suited for him. The open floor, the transition, terrific passer, great vision, great creativity. He'll do well.
Do you coach a player different when you know it's basically a one-and-done player going through the season?
Well, you recruit differently, more than anything else, probably. Although with Trae, nothing was expected like this coming out of high school. In recruiting, we talked about, his family talked about maybe 2 and done, maybe 3. But when he blew up like he did, doing things in that first 12, 15 games that really had never been done in college basketball, it was obvious in December that he was going to be one and done. So we had a little bit of a heads up and a chance to recruit a little bit, but got a couple of fifth-year grad transfers at the point, and that worked out very well. And, again, anytime a young guy can do what Trae did and have that opportunity right off the bat, we're excited for him.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, led the NCAA in scoring and assists per game, which no player had done since 1983, 1984. And you said it's unexpected. Is there a challenge in adjusting on the fly when all of a sudden he exceeded expectations early on in the season? How did you have to adjust as a coach?
You go into the year expecting to do certain things offensively, defensively, and yet when a guy explodes like he did, especially as a freshman without much warning, you do adjust. You're always going to get the ball to the people that can make you most effective and create for others. And Trae not only scored, but he created for others and made a lot of good plays. Again, just a terrific start to a freshman year and a great freshman year overall.
I want to go back to, we're talking about Lon Kruger, Oklahoma basketball coach, again, Big 12 Coach of the Year in 2014. I want to go back to what you said, it changes recruiting. So between the time when you were the Pittsburgh State assistant coach back in 1976 to now, when you are going into living rooms to try and get kids to come to your program, what has been the biggest difference in recruiting these players?
Well, Pittsburgh State in 76, that goes back a ways and brings back a lot of good memories. But, things are different today. Young people have the opportunity to play so much more in the summertime and get so many other good players in the summertime. Back there in the late 70s, early 80s, you might catch a guy against another good player occasionally in a high school game, and a little bit harder to determine, a little bit harder to project, and that's what makes Trae even more amazing. He's had a very good summer opportunity, had a very good high school career. You measured him against other good players, and still he exploded beyond anyone's expectations right off the bat. So I think the level of competition they get in high school, the opportunity to play against other good players, the social media today, of course, changes everything, both good and bad. So things are different today from what they were 35, 40 years ago.
Boy, there's no question about that. Lon Kruger, Oklahoma head coach with us, has taken 3 different schools to the Elite Eight, also coached in the NBA, the Hawks for 2+ seasons. The one thing I want to get into with Trae, because he's a one-and-doner, and now the NBA is talking about changing that rule. It is an NBA rule. It's not an NCAA rule. What's your take on whether or not that should be changed?
I think it's great. I think young people should have the opportunity to choose coming out of college. I don't know. I think that's going to happen, or coming out of high school. Sorry, I think that's going to happen. And yet, I don't know what's going to happen on the other end. Can we? If you decide to go to college, do you stay for 2 years? Do you stay for 3, or do you still have the opportunity to go one and done? I hope. I'd like to see something happen to where if they do go out of high school to professionally, because a lot of them get bad advice. Most of them that do that won't play in the NBA probably, which is unfortunate. I'd still like to see them be able to retain some form of amateurism. If they go 2 years, realize they've made a mistake, then go back and have maybe the balance of their 5 years of eligibility remaining so they can get a degree and can be on scholarship and can, still do that college experience. But that's probably way down the road. But I'd like to see something like that happen.
Lon, that makes a ton of sense to me because we've talked about this a lot on this show and also leading up to the NFL draft. You have guys that were first-round draft picks that were professional baseball players and got paid an exorbitant amount of money and were still considered amateurs when they came back to play a different sport. Kyler Murray, the Oklahoma starting quarterback, just signed a deal to play in baseball for over $5 million, yet he's going to be considered an amateur playing football. And I know the delineation there as well, it's in a different sport. But at the end of the day, if you're being paid to play a sport, and you can still retain some amateurism, why couldn't it be in the same sport? And to your point, to get that degree.
Absolutely agree. The young players coming over from Europe, there's a gray line there between amateurism. What have they been paid? What have they been provided as a young player in Europe before they come over to college in the United States? So I think certainly it could be, considered, I would think, and certainly if it's good for the young guy and it promotes the opportunity to go to college and gain a degree and gain that experience, then I'd love to see something done in that way.
Coach, you're no stranger to this scenario with what's getting ready to come up here. How would Trae compare in terms of readiness to Buddy Hield, who you coached a couple of years ago, was the 6th overall pick in the draft and was certainly well talked about there? How would you compare the two as far as how ready Trae is to enter this league?
Trae's 19 years old. Buddy's 23 probably at that time. So that 4 years difference is obviously going to make a difference. Totally two different skill sets. Buddy with the best shooter, the best player in the country his senior year, and just outstanding, unbelievable mechanics, unbelievable fundamentals. Trae, on the other hand, as a freshman, ball in his hands all the time, very good out of backcourt, pushing the ball in the open court. Be a different set of expectations. My, biggest area of interest might be to see, how fair are the expectations. Trae is 19. He is entering a world, terrific confidence, terrific upside, but hopefully, people can be fair right out of the bat.
And along those lines, again, we're talking to Lon Kruger, Oklahoma basketball coach for Trae Young. With that age difference, there were a couple of times during the season where Trae seemed to get frustrated, and you kind of heard it when he was talking to the media, and you almost had to step back and say, well, wait a minute, this kid's 19. When some of that was going on, the off court or the talking to the media, how much did you get involved with him in trying to help him through those scenarios?
Of course, you talk to him every day. You talk to him about, shutting out the noise, not listening to anyone on social media, which is absolutely impossible with young people today because they live there. But just keep making good basketball plays. Don't worry about what's out there a month from now. Make good plays today. And Trae has a pretty good focus in that way, even though he was definitely bothered by that, as any young people would be. He not only was having that moment where defenses were getting tougher, it had also been built up so much where the expectations continued to rise almost unfairly. But he was outstanding and did an amazing job.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was updating my Instagram post there. No, I'm kidding. Oklahoma head coach Lon Kruger with us this morning. Hey, listen, I know you're going to have a watch party for Trae Young there in Norman to see where he goes. It'll be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see him play
it was.
In his one-and-done season for the Sooners. Lon, we appreciate you getting up early with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin, and it has been sort of corrupted over time.
Like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Brettomology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
Golic and Wingo, presented by 100flowers.com. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 100flowers.com when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99. You're going to get another dozen free. Go to 100flowers.com/ESPN.
All right, Brettomology time, where our researcher Brett comes up with a catchphrase, and we have to pick out whether he's giving us a fake definition or the real one. Here are the standings. Ryan Hollins is perfect, 4 for 4. Fitz went 3 for 4. I'm 24 for 36, really 26 for 40, but we're not counting the two.
No, we're not.
Gone. Gold Jr., 11 for 20.
Who ran out of here because he wants to do it with the staff more than us.
Right, that's fair.
Whatever.
Chris Canny, it's 2 for 4. Adnan's 2 for 4. Jeff Saturday, 1 for 4. All right, Brett.
Go ahead, Brett.
The stage is yours, my friend.
First phrase, pass the buck.
Pass the buck.
Evading responsibility.
Yeah.
Is it from poker, which as it was becoming popular in the United States in the late 1800s, cheating was rampant. To ensure cheating didn't occur during a game, dealers would rotate during a session. The person next in line to be the dealer would hold a marker, usually a knife with a buck's horn handle. Passing the buck meant passing on your turn to be the dealer, so you would be able to play and make more money. Or does it come from French and an incredibly literal translation? The French word for scapegoat is bouc émissaire, which translates directly to buck messenger. So those who pass the buck are attempting to avoid taking the blame for something.
I'm going number 2.
You're going number 2?
Well, I mean, I'm taking the second answer.
Let's say you take it, because if you do, you need to leave.
I know.
Okay, so
second answer.
All right, the room, they're all going.
Just make a pick,
split.
Wingo.
Listen. He does the French thing a lot, and they're always fake, so I'm going number 1 with the knife. I'm going 1.
It's the poker.
Yeah! Who's the smart guy now? Let's go!
Second phrase.
Here we go.
Go ahead. On or off the wagon. to abstain or not abstain from drinking.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Several organizations in the late 1800s encouraged men to avoid alcohol and take a pledge of full abstinence from drinking. Water carts or water wagons were commonly used at the time to wash the streets in cities, so a common phrase used when refusing a drink was to say you were, quote, on the water cart, which became on the water wagon and later on the wagon. Or is it from the early 1900s when Salvation Army General Evangeline Booth initiated an anti-alcohol program for lower-income and homeless men? Booth and others led wagons around city slums and picked up drunk men to be transported to rehabilitation centers, so those who were on the wagon were on a literal wagon taking them down the path to sobriety, and those who were off the wagon had begun drinking again.
God, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But I'm going with number one.
Well, I should take number two just to see if I can. No, I think it's one. I'm going with one.
Two.
I'm going with one.
Number one, the water wagon.
Yes, let's go. You snapped it over for 5 streak. Well done.
Yes!
The full Monty.
Oh, yeah.
Complete set of a given thing. Is it courtesy of the early 1900s English tailor shop of one Montague Burton, a.k.a. Monty Burton? When a customer came in asking for the full Monty, they were looking for a 3-piece suit with all the accessories. Burton's company grew to be one of the largest clothing retailers in the UK, supplying suits to everyone from British soldiers returning from World War II to English soccer players in the 1966 World Cup. Or is it from Montebanco, or Montebank, the official card game of Mexico? We won't get too caught up with the rules, but the Monty is the name of the stack of cards that the banker deals out of during the game, and a full Monty is the best hand someone can have in the game, akin to a royal flush in poker.
All right, well, listen, I'm going to channel my inner Adnan here because there was a British movie that came out called
And they all
The Full
got
Monty.
naked. That's what I thought it was.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I did too.
I think because of that, and I'm going with the British origin, I'm going with number one.
I'm going number one as well.
Room?
What? It's number one, the
Mike
British
goes
tailor
with
shop.
two.
Yeah! Let's go! 3 for 3!
There you go, Mike. You went in that room and you stink.
And your final phrase.
Maybe he went there because he does stink.
Oh, that's a good
Okay,
point.
fair.
Death and taxes.
Okay.
Certain things are inevitable. Was it first written by Daniel Defoe, best known as the author of Robinson Crusoe? Defoe had a business career prior to being an author, including a time during which he collected taxes. He drew upon that experience and had much more in his non-fiction work, A Political History of the Devil, published 7 years after Crusoe in 1726. In that book, he wrote, quote, things as certain as death and taxes can be more firmly believed. Or was it written by Benjamin Franklin in one of his many letters exchanged with the French physicist Jean-Baptiste Leroy, this one from 1789. Franklin was expressing his hope for the staying power of the recently ratified U.S. Constitution, but he couched his optimism by saying, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes.
I'm going with Benny.
I got to go
two.
Ben Franklin. I'm going
Number
Ben
two.
Franklin.
Give me one.
It's not Ben Franklin.
Who's the smart guy now? I went 3 for 4, and that's all that matters. All right, coming up.
Wow.
Something happened after a championship for the first time in nearly a quarter of a century. What does it mean? And more specifically, I went 3 for 4.